Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the walk. Today is Friday, March 28th, and we are up to Ezekiel 40. We aren't going to actually read any of chapter 40 today because I have an enormous amount of notes covering this introduction to Ezekiel 40. So we're going to jump right into it. In the Apologetics Study Bible, it asks, what is the meaning of the new worship chapters? So chapter 40 all the way through to the end of Ezekiel are considered the new worship chapters. What does that mean? Here's what it says. It is fitting that the writings of Ezekiel, a priest, would conclude with the presentation of a new temple and new sacrificial system in the restoration of God's kingdom. The promise was partly realized when Israel returned after the exile and partly realized when Israel became a nation in 1948. In a Christian interpretation, the realization is present now in the worshiping church and in the spirit-filled life in the risen Christ, which is the Father's promise. The final part will be realized by the rule of the Messiah in his millennial kingdom. For Ezekiel, the vision was a whole, and only in retrospect have stages of fulfillment been discerned. Okay, so chapter 40 is all about this new temple. And what this is basically saying here is that there's kind of three parallel things that this is about in this part. So the promise was first realized when Israel returned from exile in Babylon. And then it was also realized yet again when Israel became a nation in 1998. Then it can kind of be said that it was realized yet again in the Christian interpretation of the church right now in the spirit-filled life. And I was wrong, there's not three, but there's actually four parts to this. And then that final part is going to be the 1,000 years in which Christ rules here on earth in the millennial kingdom, way, way, way into Revelation times, way into those end times. So for Ezekiel, this vision was a whole, and only in retrospect have those stages become noticed by scholars, Bible scholars, and people that are interpreting it. All right, so now we get to the Apologetics Study Bible study note for chapter 40, verses 1 through 4. And this is what it says. Ezekiel's detailed description, including precise measurements, suggests that the prophet saw a literal future temple. No such temple has been built, neither the temple of the returned exiles nor the grand edifice erected by Herod the Great followed Ezekiel's blueprint. So there's never been a temple built like what's about to be described in this chapter. I lost my place. Many conservative scholars agree that Ezekiel's vision was for the latter days of the end time. This is the last dated prophecy in the book in the spring of 573 BC. It was not the last message chronologically, as the vision of chapter 29, verse 17 to 21 is older. Ezekiel was in the 25th year of the exile. In this vision, he was taken to Jerusalem 14 years after its fall, and the actual city was still in ruins. The language of this vision suggests that Ezekiel believed he was seeing Jerusalem in a Jubilee year of the latter days, evidence suggesting the advent of the millennial kingdom. All right, so what is the Jubilee year, and why would it be significant that Ezekiel believed he was seeing something from a Jubilee year? Well, a Jubilee year is a time of rest. And what they would do is they would kind of put the farmlands on a sabbatical and let them rest on that 7th year. This vision is dated in the 25th year of the exile. So that time frame would have had it start with the Jubilee year, which occurred 50 years in the every 50 years in the Old Testament. It also would have been happening at the same time as Rosh Hashanah, which is that Hebrew Hebrew New Year. So this Jubilee was considered a year of rest. It was kind of like a sabbatical. It was a year when they did not farm crops. It was considered a year of release from the confounds that bind you and all the things that you are stuck doing on a regular basis. And then of course you've got Rosh Hashanah coinciding with that, and that is when that new year is celebrated. So when we put all this together, Ezekiel is literally seeing an actual temple. He is literally getting the actual measurements of this temple. And we know that this temple to date has never been built. It's in that Jubilee year when everything is outside of all those bonds of you've got to work, work, work. It's in that time of rest, and it's also in that new year. Scholars believe that this temple is going to come into existence in the millennial kingdom when Christ reigns for 1,000 years. I've got way more notes for this introduction for chapter 40, so on Monday we'll get back to it. Today is Friday, so I'm going to remind you there's no video tomorrow and Sunday, but I'll be back with you on Monday and we'll learn more about what to expect in this chapter. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.